Welcome to Rise Untold, where the stories behind the spotlight come alive. Hollywood shines bright. The lights, the fame, the fortune, it looks like a dream from the outside. But behind the red carpets and golden statues lies a darker truth. A silent pain. A hidden addiction that many of its brightest stars carried for years, some until the very end. They smiled for cameras. They lit up the screen. But offstage, they battled demons no script could write and no director could fix. Judy Garland was only a teenager when the world fell in love with her. The Wizard of Oz made her a legend. But behind the curtain, she was being force-fed pills to stay thin, to sleep, to perform. As the applause grew louder, so did the addiction. She lived her life between takes and tablets, until it all caught up with her at just 47. Then there was Robert Downey Jr. in the 90s. He was Hollywood's rising star, talented, charming, unstoppable. But drugs and alcohol nearly destroyed everything. He was arrested, jailed, and written off by the industry. Yet somehow, in the silence of his lowest moments, he chose to fight back. And he rose, not just as Iron Man, but as a man who rebuilt his life, one sober step at a time. Lindsay Lohan grew up in the spotlight. From Disney darling to tabloid headline, her fall was as public as her fame. She was too young to know what the pressure really meant, too lost to find a way out. Rehab became routine. Mistakes turned into patterns. And though she's tried to find peace, the world rarely lets her forget her past. Then came River Phoenix. A gentle soul, a bright flame. He was called the next big thing. But on Halloween night, outside a Los Angeles nightclub, he collapsed and never woke up. He was only 23. His death shook Hollywood, because it wasn't just about talent lost. It was about a system that pushes young stars too fast, too hard. Demi Lovato was open about her pain. She told the world what addiction feels like. Raw, real, unfiltered. From childhood fame to international stardom, she lived in a storm of pressure and expectations. Her near-fatal overdose in 2018 was a wake-up call. She survived. But the journey of healing still continues. Ben Affleck once said that alcoholism doesn't care if you're rich or famous. He tried to be the leading man in front of the camera while his personal life fell apart behind it. Divorce, relapse, regret. But he kept showing up, not just for his roles, but for his children, for himself, for sobriety. Whitney Houston's voice was a miracle, a gift from heaven. But her fame came with chains, controlling handlers, broken relationships, and addiction she could never fully outrun. She tried to fight it, time and again, but the drugs that once numbed the pain eventually silenced the music. Forever, Bradley Cooper, a man who looks like he has it all, once admitted that alcohol almost destroyed him before he ever became a star. He quit drinking in 2004, long before his breakout roles. And he's been sober ever since. Quietly, without drama. Proof that sometimes the bravest stories are the ones never told in public. Heath Ledger, known for disappearing into every role he touched, struggled quietly with insomnia and anxiety. After wrapping his iconic role as the Joker, he couldn't sleep. The medications piled up. The nights grew longer. Until one day, he didn't wake up. The industry mourned his genius. But behind that was a man who just needed rest and couldn't find it. And then there was Robin Williams. The man who made the world laugh was quietly hurting inside. He battled alcoholism, drug addiction, and depression for years, always giving more of himself to lift others. Behind every joke was a man holding back tears. He got sober. He relapsed. He tried again. But in the end, the darkness took over. And the laughter stopped. These are just 10 names. But they represent so many more. Stars we watched on screens, not knowing the pain behind their eyes. Fame doesn't protect people from addiction. Sometimes it creates it, the pressure to be perfect, the fear of fading, the loneliness behind the lights, the expectations, the loss of privacy, the silence when the cameras stop rolling. And so they drink, they use, they numb. But behind every addiction is a person, a child once full of dreams, an artist who just wanted to feel okay, a soul who gave more than they ever received. Their stories aren't about shame. They're about truth, the human kind, the kind that lives in silence until it becomes a scream. And in that scream, some found help, recovery, redemption. Others didn't make it, but each one left behind a reminder that the spotlight can warm you, but it can also burn. Fame isn't the answer. Love is. Healing is. Honesty is. And the most powerful thing we can do is talk about it. Openly. Without shame. Without filters. Without fear of what people might think. Because the truth is, addiction isn't rare. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, famous or unknown. It touches people in quiet rooms, in crowded stages, in silent nights, and in the middle of noisy celebrations. It hides behind laughter, behind awards, behind beautiful faces. Hollywood often teaches us that success means having it all. But what it doesn't show, what it often hides, is the price some people pay just to keep showing up. They perform through the pain, smile through the struggle. And when the cameras turn off, that's when the real fight begins. And if even the brightest stars can fall, maybe we can learn how to catch ourselves before we do too. Maybe if we stop pretending that success protects us, we can finally see how human these stars really were. They weren't just addicts. They were people. People in pain. People trying to cope. People who needed understanding, not judgment, that were quick to criticize. To ask, how could they throw it all away? But the truth is, when someone is drowning, even the strongest swimmer can sink. Some found their way back. They asked for help. They faced the shame and took the long road to recovery. And every sober day was a quiet victory. Others never made it that far. And the world often remembers them only by how they died, not how hard they tried to live. But this was never about their failures. It was always about their fight, a fight to be seen as more than their addiction. A fight to find peace in a world that constantly demanded more. A fight to stay alive when everything inside told them to give up. Their stories remind us that healing isn't linear, that relapse isn't weakness, that asking for help is one of the bravest things a person can. Dude, we don't tell these stories to expose pain. We tell them so others know they're not alone in theirs. We tell them so silence doesn't win. Because the minute we start talking, honestly and without shame, something shifts. A door opens. A burden lifts. Someone out there hears the truth, and maybe, just maybe, they choose to keep going. If they could fight, if some of them could rise again after falling so far, maybe you can too. Maybe the light you're looking for isn't at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's not somewhere far away, waiting for the right moment to shine. Maybe it's been inside you all along, quiet, flickering, buried beneath pain, silence, or years of pretending everything's okay. Maybe that light doesn't look like a breakthrough or a big success. Maybe it's something smaller, softer. A single breath. A decision not to give up today. A moment where you choose to feel, to speak, to ask for help. A reminder that you still matter, not because of what you've achieved, but because of who you are beneath it all. You are not your worst day. You are not your addiction. You are not the shame others made you carry. You are human. And humans fall. But we also rise. The stories you've just heard aren't about fame. They're about resilience. They're about people who broke, but didn't stay broken. People who fought to find the light again. And now, maybe it's your turn to search for your own spark. To let the truth heal you. To believe that your story isn't over yet. Because it isn't. And that is Rise Untold.